Welcome, everybody. I'm Susan Letterman White. I am a practice advisor over here at Mass LoMAP, and I'm delighted to invite you to this month's webinar for busy lawyers. We have these webinars every month, once a month on a Wednesday at noon. These are short, about 20 to 30 minutes long, with a time for Q&A at the end, and they are very, very popular. So happy that you are here today. And today, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Kimberly Bennett. I want to tell you a little bit about Kimberly, and I'm actually going to read because she has an amazing little resume here, a little bio. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Kimberly is an avid traveler, lover of technology, legal industry disruptor, speaker, and attorney who runs K. Bennett Law, LLC, a boutique virtual trademark and business strategy law practice offering subscription legal services. Her practice focuses on helping industry disruptors and social impact entrepreneurs protect their brands and grow profitable and sustainable businesses. She's integrated the latest technologies into her practice with a focus on designing legal services that provide fast, flexible, and frictionless solutions for her clients. In addition to her firm, Kim is passionate about moving the legal industry forward and coaching lawyers. She's the founder of the Modern Legal Collective, a community of female lawyers building disruptive legal practices. You can find Kim hosting her monthly live show, the Modern Legal Collective Live, and teaching workshops and leading presentations on adding alternative revenue streams, creating products from your knowledge, implementing subscription revenue models, and navigating legal ethics for modern law firms. Kim received her JD degree from Villanova University School of Law in Villanova, Pennsylvania, right next to my former backyard in Philly, and her BA degree in psychology with a minor in Spanish and pre-med concentration from Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. Kim currently runs her virtual law practice from Atlanta, and you can follow Kim at K. Bennett Law across social media. And before I turn it over to Kim, I'd just like to let you know that we're going to have plenty of time at the end of her presentation to take questions. So if you have a question, as soon as you think about it, just put it right into the Zoom webinar chat box. And at the end, I will relay all those questions to Kim, and we will have them all answered for you at the very end. Kim, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome today. I'm super excited to have you guys with me. Typically I like to go live and you see my face when I'm presenting, but I think there might be a little delay. So I'm going to get off of live, but hello. I'm excited to share with you my presentation today on breaking the law. So if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's go ahead and do this. All right. So let me get off this video so it won't be distracting. Perfect. All right, y'all. So today I really want to talk about breaking the law and what that means for us as practicing attorneys, as individuals in the legal profession, and how we can make some shifts to move to a better, more modern, and a more disruptive practice. So you said, thank you for the awesome introduction. So you guys know me, I'm Kim. If you are social, I invite you to let's chat. I love to continue this conversation off of social, on social and off of this platform. So let's continue to have it because what we're going to talk about today is really about how we change some of our thinking about how we practice law and where we want to go and where the legal industry can go. And so that's an ongoing conversation that's just not going to happen in a day. And so today I really hope to share some things with you to help you get there. But if you want to continue the conversation, these are the ways that you can reach me. So before we get too deep inside the conversation, I always like to set the stage, right? And so the thing that I would like all of us to do is we're here, we have 20 to 30, power pack minutes to really dive deep. And so I invite you to then kind of remove all the distractions, the cell phones, the tabs open, all that stuff, of course, not Zoom, the social media and all that stuff. So really make some major shifts today to move into your power, your purpose, and your passion to break the law. So I hope you guys are ready because I am. So let's go ahead and get started. So what do I really want to get out of today? This quote really gives a good feeling of what this is about, and that there's no innovation and creativity without failure, right? So as we talk about these shifts, I want you to remember that things aren't always going to be perfect when you're making the shift, right? But it's about continuous iteration. And so I believe this quote really, really leads us down puts us in the right frame of mind when we're talking about the topics we're talking about today. So my goal, I really have two key goals for you guys today. First is about exposure. I want to expose you to the possibilities and the opportunities that exist in the law. We are in an extremely exciting period for the legal industry, and I really want to start a conversation about exploring the future of law, particularly as those with degrees, legal professionals, attorneys that are doing things, but now we see shifts starting to happen. And then my second goal of today is to empower you, to take control and maybe take one action to move your firm forward. So that's just one action. And of course, for you super high achievers, because I know we're out there, right? Maybe a few more. But if you can take one action, the rest of us could take that one action to really make that change and to effectively to break the law. So that's where I'm at. I please ask all the questions that you want to do, that you want, because this is, I really want to make sure everyone's getting all the feedback and I'm getting all the feedback and you're getting what you need out of today's conversation. So I like to start off with this, and feel free to put it in the chat and let me know, what would your ideal law practice look like? If you can design your ideal law practice, what would it be? I mean, there's some things that I can think of. That could be like consistent revenue, right? Not having to do all the like small little admin tasks, right? Being able to have certain things run on autopilot. Of course, better working hours, more balance, and of course, we need some predictable income, right? So what would your ideal law practice look like? I know when I moved into building a disruptive model, I had to put at the forefront of my decision-making what I wanted my practice to look like and how I needed to get there. But I also knew that part of putting it in the forefront was actually also recognizing what's preventing me from getting there. And so if you're thinking about what your ideal practice could look like, then the next question is what's preventing you from designing it, And there are blocks, right? There are things that are out there that might prevent us. And we know that because we've been practicing, or because maybe you have that thought in your mind that you want to do something different, but maybe something is holding you back. So what is that? Maybe are you not sure where the industry is going? Or maybe do you believe that outside competitors are taking over market share and you're not sure where to insert your services? Or are you trying to serve more people, but you don't know how because there's just one of you and there's a lot of people that have that need? And we know that's true, right? Because we know as a profession, there's a lot of people that still do not use our services. So then it takes me back to the question, what's preventing you from designing your ideal law practice? So if I had to put a reason out there, what's preventing a lot of us from doing it? The key problem is going to really relate to fear. And attorneys' fear of change is suffocating. It's not stopping, but it's truly suffocating the practice of law. And so we have to figure out how can we overcome that and where is that problem coming from, right? That fear that things are changing, that movement is happening, that new people are joining our industry or old businesses are expanding, yet we're still stuck, right? We are not being fearless and we're not building these bold, disruptive, modern law firms. And so that is holding us back. So what does that look like? It looks like the LegalZooms of the world, right? A big old disruptive company that as attorneys, it sometimes gives us this certain uncertain feeling, right? But what is LegalZoom showing? They came in and they showed us a different way to deliver services. Whether you like them or not, they've proven a model that does exist and that is viable, and that's millions and millions and millions of dollars viable, right? But they're the person, well, they're the entity that we know. We know that entity, but then do we know the next type of entities that are coming into our space, right? The accounting firms, right? Ernst & Young, PwC, those big accounting firms, they are now taking strides to really provide services in our industry. So what happens then? Does that fear start creeping up? Do you start thinking about, okay, these outside competitors are coming in, they're taking market share. They're not supposed to be doing legal services. This is the right way, right? Is that what keeps on coming up? Are those limiting beliefs keeping us from really stepping into building disruptive law firms? But here's the thing. These guys are coming in, but it's not just about them coming into the disrupting legal services, right? Essentially, the full legal ecosystem is broken, and it's really ready for disruption. So we saw this happen with LegalZoom. We see this happening now with the accounting firms. We see it happening with multi-state bar, the uniform bar exam. We see these changes are starting to happen. And so what does it mean for our lives as practicing attorneys? It means that it's time to make some changes. It's time to move away from what used to be, whether it's the tall, shiny buildings, right? Whether it still looks like we're going to draft documents when there's AI out there. It looks like, maybe not having the stuffy suits, and it's moving into where our clients are at and meeting them where they're at. So it gives us really an amazing space because we are at a prime opportunity to build fearless and profitable law practices that are no longer constrained by a broken ecosystem, right? Because effectively our ecosystem is broken. Because if we're fearful of these changes coming in, of these disruptors coming in, right? If we're fearful of what they're doing and we're not embracing these disruptors, then we are limiting our opportunities. So I say, let's move through that and instead build those fearless and profitable law practices that are no longer constrained by what we used to have. And now we're moving to a place of opportunity for ourselves and for our clients. So then what does that look like, right? It looks like, an opportunity that leads to freedom from student loans and suffocating debt. It looks like freedom from overwhelm and overwork, right? In your daily and personal professional lives. It looks like freedom from inconsistent revenue or unpaid fees that, create a strain on your growth, because we know you can't grow a firm if you're not making money, right? If people don't know you, you can't make the money, right? So it's freedom to then control your time and design your life in the law firm that you want, and to take a break and to enjoy life's moments, because unhealthy practice habits are in our industry. But if we embrace fearless and profitable law practices, we can then lead towards a life that's enjoyable, that we can make money even when we're sleeping. And then we can break the mold that existed that no longer really works for the clients because they're showing us this and consumers of legal services, and create the impact you want without sacrificing your goals, whether those financial, personal, spiritual, emotional, whatever those goals are for you. So that's the opportunity that we have today. And so we're going to talk about shifts we need to build a fearless and profitable law practice. And I know initially we said 5, but as I was going through it and talking through it and thinking about, I have, 20 to 30 minutes to get through all these, I really wanted to give the most high impact for you. So I reduced them down to my 3 top shifts you need to make to build a fearless and profitable law practice, right? So we're going to go bold with these shifts because these are my 3 top, right? We're not tiptoeing around it. So we're really going to get there. And if you're having a reaction to it, I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want you to ask the questions. Okay. So let's talk about the shifts you need to build a fearless and profitable law practice. Shift number 1 is to ditch your JD. So I'm going to pause for a second and see how that feels for y'all. So I'm saying, yes, you need to ditch your JD. And that's exactly what I said. And why am I saying that? Because we need to ditch the degree and embrace our analytical ability, right? Because knowledge is no longer power. It's not, right? We know the internet is there. Technology has changed access into information. So instead of us thinking of knowledge as power, instead focusing on the knowledge as the ability for us to solve problems. So what did our JD do? It taught us a great skill, problem solving, right? And when people now are coming to attorneys, before, yes, we held the knowledge because they couldn't access it as easily. But now that they can, what really is our superpower? Our superpower is not in our knowledge, but how we solve the problems. So I want us to all stop holding on to the idea that our JD is really the thing, that knowledge, that legal degree, and instead to really recognize the magic that exists in our ability to solve our clients' problems, to know who they are, know what they need, and then leverage that knowledge in a way that's sustainable and scalable, and of course, fearless, right? So if you're saying to me, okay, Kim, why would I do that? Why would that make sense, right? First of all, for the client, it's a win for them because they're getting their problem solved by someone who actually knows what they're talking about, right? For the attorney, you're serving more people and you're competing with some of those alternative providers. So if you're concerned about the LegalZooms, the PwCs, the other services that are DIYing things, right? Why not, instead of worrying about them, why not move into and leverage your knowledge to really create products? And so we have the opportunity to build sustainable practices when we're not having to do every single thing that really still provides us an opportunity to serve more people. So what does that look like in practice? That looks like something like this. It looks like the playbook, which is designed by an ethics attorney, right, to solve problems for us, for any, if you're an attorney and you're going through an issue in discipline, we say pro se is not the best way to go, but people do it all the time. And sometimes that's all someone can do. And maybe that's all they can afford. But if you can design something, leveraging your knowledge to solve a problem, which is understanding what's happening in this particular disciplinary system, then you can meet people where they're at, right? You can then, another example, Christina Scalera, and it's the contract shop. So Megan Xavier has the playbook, Christina Scalera has the contract shop. And instead of going for clients, attorney clients, she's looking for creative entrepreneurs and designed an opportunity, a model around providing, using her knowledge to help support and serve and solve the problems of way more clients than she could individually, right? High value, very focused, and very specific so that you're solving problems utilizing that knowledge. So forgetting the JD, because yes, great, we have it, but really what's the goal of the JD is for us to serve more people. And how can we serve more people? We can do it by forgetting the pomp and circumstance around it and really leaning into our power to leverage our knowledge. So that's our first shift, and that's one of the important ones, right? But it's that, like I said, it's not the only shift. So we're going to keep on diving deeper, because now my next shift that you need to make is to ditch the bar exam. And so why do I say we need to ditch the bar exam? Again, what's the goal of the bar exam, right? To demonstrate competency. But what's the reality? People do not pass the bar exam. And is actually the bar exam demonstrating competency, or is it just an arbitrary barrier for people to practice? Whatever your views on it, there's still opportunities to continue to move and to provide and to develop more impactful, fearless, profitable law practices when you ditch your bar exam and you say to yourself, well, what was the real end goal here? The end goal was to embrace your analytical ability, because that's what the bar exam is supposed to be. Like, the minimum competency is your ability to analyze, right? So you have a lot of knowledge, and now you can analyze that knowledge, right? So where you can move into not just analyzing it, but then, moving into your ability to embrace actually advocacy. And that's what the bar exam is about, being able to prepare people so that they can say they're advocates, right? They are individuals who can support someone that's going through something and helping them better streamline their ideas around their issue so they can fully realize and solve that problem. Again, solving problems, right? So if you ditch your bar and you figure out other ways to embrace your advocacy, what would that look like? It looks like serving the full community of people that have not yet been served by us, right? We're trained as advisors, as counselors, advocates, right? It's breaking the mold and then building from there, and then building a practice that really designs to help provide people strategy and to serve more, right? So if we give them what they want, which sometimes may not look like legal services. So sometimes you don't pass that bar, but you could still provide a service, right? And so what that could look like is advocacy. So embrace it, build it, because if we leverage our advocacy and forget about the bar exam, we can really design bold, profitable, fearless law practices. So in practice, what does this look like? This looks like legal coaching, right? It's not delivering legal services, it's coaching. It's helping, as Jennifer Gertzenzang does in her practice. Maybe you don't need a lawyer. Maybe you can't afford a lawyer. Maybe it's about understanding of helping a family prepare for a criminal proceeding and coaching someone through that. It's being very creative about understanding who we are trying to serve, right? It's not about creating this arbitrary barrier to prevent lawyers from serving, but it's saying, okay, how can we, using what we have, better be able to serve more people? And that's There's shift number 2, which is really embracing your advocacy. For the client, they have access to strategy, to thinking through and what that looks like, and and getting the power, right? And then for the attorney, you can serve more people in a way that's different, right? That's not advice, but it is coaching that is valuable, and that is what the person needs at that time, or the entity needs at that time. So you do this by designing services for where your clients are, not where we want them to be. We address their pain and we solve for that pain, right? And if the pain is just understanding a process and it's educating and you can get the advocacy from me, then let's do that, right? Another great example of that is Hello Divorce. So in the divorce space, particularly in California, divorces happen. 50% of people, whatever that number is, right, are going to get divorced. But not everybody maybe wants to hire a lawyer or can afford a lawyer, but they still need that support and that advocacy and that knowledge through the process. So enter Hello Divorce to be able to provide services where clients are, right? To really provide a DIY option that starts with free and then goes up according to what their needs are. And it meets clients where they're at by really leveraging the idea that knowledge plus advocacy can give you something like this, okay? And then our third shift that I want to really speak about, finally, is to ditch the billable hour. Because if we know anything about a billable hour, we know that it doesn't lead us to profitability, right? You can make money, but it's not your maximum profitability. And instead of using the billable hour, I want you to embrace alternative revenue streams, because we all have to make money. We have loans, we have debt, we have life. We want to make a profit, right? And what we know, when you are billing by the hour, you are saying to yourself, one, I'm trading my time for money. And time does not equal money. Time equals time and you can't get it back. Instead, let's focus on value. Let's focus on providing, valuable outputs, deliverables to people, to clients, to entities, to help them get to the next step in their life and their business, right? To solve their problems. And you do that by ditching the billable hour. Why? Because you're losing tons of money when you still bill by the hour. You're never realizing your full amount. Even if you bill at 400, I venture to say everyone today can say that they've always cut down their bills. I know when I used to bill by the hour, this was my story, right? I sent out a bill and if the client pushed back, I cut it down and then I sent it back out. And then I would get paid. So what did that mean? Did I really make all the money I was thinking I was going to make? Absolutely not. So for the client, if we move away from the billable hour, unpredictable, unforeseeable, stressful way to start a relationship with a client, and instead move, for the client's perspective, to transparency, predictability, and building trust, for us as attorneys, we can then get full compensation, money on autopilot, and no more outstanding bills, right? Because in my practice, I don't have accounts receivable, right? So it's about how can you embrace other ways to engage clients and engage their investment that doesn't create a strain on your relationship. It's alternative revenue streams, right? It's flat fees, subscriptions, stage billing, something that looks different than what we were taught and what we were used to doing. So what's an example of what that looks like? One of the biggest pushbacks I get when people say, I need to still do billable because I am a litigator and I have to do it that way. But do you really? So this is a litigator in Georgia, a family law litigator at that. And so anyone does family law, it's contentious. There's things that can happen, things that can pop up right in the midst of it. But litigation in family law could be quite costly. And in her practice, it is a flat fee litigation practice. Imagine that, right? Moving away from the old school model, the old school thought, and moving and embracing into a place where clients are happier, it's predictable, and it's not at a low cost, it's at a sustainable, scalable, profitable margins, right? So it's about thinking through that we're no longer going to just say, well, I do it like this because, and we don't have a reason. We're going to be intentional about the decisions that we're making so we can create innovative law firms that can create the impact that we want and desire. So what does that else look like? It looks like subscription legal services. This is what I do. So this is the landing page for my website. It looks like subscription legal services. It looks like ongoing monthly payments to me for a set of products, set of services. Because why bill hourly? Why maybe take it a step forward. Why only just have flat fees? Why not move into a client-focused, client-centric, forecastable way of engaging with an attorney, with a client, and they can engage with us, right? So that you can have the predictability and that you don't have to worry about all the things that come with building out a practice when you're still thinking about billables, protecting your knowledge, or not really being creative about how you can advocate for more people. So those are the three shifts, and the three major shifts that we can make to build fearless and innovative law practices, right? To build those that are profitable and that are ready to scale, because the industry is changing, and even if we don't like it, it's going to move with or without us. So what are you ready to ditch? What is the thing that you can let go today to take a step forward? Because this is about taking a step forward, right? And even if it's a small step, every step matters. So what's one step you can take today to build a fearless and profitable law practice? That step could look like creating a product, right? So create your product. You have knowledge. Every single attorney spent the years in school and now post as a practitioner. Think about what's a pain point. Think about the things that you're asked about all the time from your clients, right? Jot it down, list 10 things, and if there's a way to, and then see what you can create a product out of it. Maybe it's a free product, but it serves more people. Maybe it's a paid product, but the idea is it's some educational focused tool that can help serve more people, and you can leverage your knowledge in ways that you're not right now. What's another opportunity? Opportunity to be an advocate, right? And to remember that our goal is to serve more people, to help them understand and move through the process of the law. But here's the thing we fail to do is that a lot of times clients come to us in fire mode because that's what we put out. We say we want you to be proactive, but we only talk about our reactive services. There's a lot of things before a client even needs you, when they're still consuming education, thinking through, taking steps on their own. So be an advocate and design for that person, and design to help them take the strategy and the steps to get them through a process way before they might need to hire an attorney. And then finally, stop the billable, stop the stop the 10th of an hour. Stop that billing, right? Why do that? Because it creates distrust. It creates, it's not a great way to start off a relationship. And honestly, for you, it's not predictable. So you can rip that Band-Aid off. And that's what I did. I ripped the Band-Aid off when I moved from billable over about 10 years ago now. Almost 10 years ago now, when I moved away from billable hours, my first step was to flat fee, because I was tired of not getting compensated fully. I was tired of having that frustrated relationship with my clients, right? When we're thinking about money. So money as an investment is part of hiring us, but let's get a stressful part. Let's make it clear, transparent, predictable, and profitable, right? So rip that Band-Aid off and stop billing by the hour. So it's very, very simple to put yourself in a position to succeed. It's just about making that step. And if you want to build a fearless and a profitable law practice, we have to take the steps to not be afraid of those disruptors, not to be afraid of the LegalZooms of the world, or afraid of the PwCs or Ernst & Youngs that are coming to our space, or any of the other smaller companies that are coming in, and instead really put ourselves in the position to be as successful because we have all the tools already at our fingertips. So thank you guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So let me come back up so we can see if there's any questions about today's conversation.
So thank you so much, Kimberly. I actually have a few questions.
Sure.
Our participants a little bit of time to think of their questions and just write them into the chat box. So you said a whole bunch of things that were very, very interesting to me. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the subscription legal services, because I know that's what you do.
Yes.
And, I think probably some of our participants are wondering, well, how do you limit being kind of pushed to the limit or overused? Because if it's paying you like a monthly fee, especially for somebody who's in, let's say, family law, because I hear this from lawyers all the time, like they're this fine line where clients come and they want you almost to be a therapist.
Right.
And it's easy to say, I'm happy to be your therapist if you want to pay my billable hour. It would probably be better to actually see a therapist. But if
Right.
it's a subscription service, do you use an engagement letter? How do you limit that from happening?
Yeah, so here's what I think about that. So first, I believe we need to move towards a holistic approach to the law, right? The law doesn't happen in a vacuum. And so clients are, we become, once you start working with a client, particularly in family space. And so my background, part of my background training is in psychology. And when you're developing and someone's going through those like really difficult times, they are going to trust somebody, and it's probably going to be their lawyer after they're sharing all this information. And so we have to take a holistic approach to it. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to create something that's profitable and sustainable. So what you do is, first I'll say you need processes. So a lot of times when people say to me, I'm getting overwhelmed, one, it's probably because you don't have a process around it. So it's taking a step back and saying, how do I manage when that happens? What's supposed to happen next, right? And if you create a process, you can create these levels of barriers to either stop it or to manage it. And so what I'll say is what we do in subscriptions is really manage the type of work. We set expectations, we're clear. If the clarity isn't there, then you have a conversation. But communication is always the key to this. And it's really setting barriers and being intentional about how you design your subscription so that it allows for your clients to get what they need while you're able to grow and scale in a way that, is sustainable.
And do you use engagement letters?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's the thing, when we're thinking about disrupting, and I'm saying, forget, ditch your JD and ditch your law, ditch the exam and the billables. It's not to say there's still some core components we're going to do because it's just part of what we're at, but it's then designing intentionally. And so, yeah, so your engagement is designed intentionally to support a subscription practice, right? It's really being thoughtful about how you're looking to work with the client, and then make sure the engagement is just clear about that. And, then it's about being okay with saying, all right, I needed to change it because maybe I missed this thing. And then you update it for the next person that comes in, and you clarify with your client now that you currently have, and adjust it as you need to. So absolutely do engagements because that's just part of best practices.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I have another question. So for any of our listeners who are thinking, I think I would like to productize this aspect of the services that I was delivering. Do you have any recommendations for how to market somebody, new product that they're developing?
Sure. So I think it's about being so here's the thing. Anytime you're going out to leverage your knowledge, and I absolutely support. I think as lawyers are getting more comfortable with it, they're starting to see the value that really it comes to them and to the client. It's always a win-win. So if you're looking to do that, before you even think about marketing, first design for your client, because we need to move into a new model, new mindset, and not just put out a piece of material because we want to, but really design it for what clients want, right? Use it as your baseline way of thinking. What are you being asked? What are the key things that are driving them to have this need? Sometimes that product may look like specific legal education on a specific legal topic. And sometimes it might be many steps before that you're so familiar with now because you've dealt with it a lot. You help people navigate that process even before it's really come to the point of needing true, legal services or legal education. So first start with knowing your client, and then develop a strategy around that particular client. And so that's kind of what we do with coaching, right? It's like figuring out who you want to work with, what they do, where they're at, how much money they make, what are their pain points, what are the things that they, want to happen, and then what problem they need solved. You then design a product around that, and then you market to the same people once you've understood them. So once you understand it, the marketing becomes much easier, but don't just design it and then they will come. Ask them, design it, then they will come.
Oh, that makes so much sense too.
Yeah.
And I was wondering one other question. So when you switched from kind of a traditional way of practicing law to this subscription service model, what did you notice in terms of a change in revenue, in terms of a change in maybe work-life balance, and anything else that was suddenly different for you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the part of the reason to make the shift, right, was that one, when I was billing by the hour, I actually at the time was still in litigation and I lost a ton of money. And so if anybody is here right now, I invite you to, if you're billing by the hour, to do this calculation, 144 times your hourly rate. Do the calculation quickly, write it down, tell me what you get. Or you don't have to share it, but a number is going to come up there. And so when for me, and you did that multiplication, it was about $36,000. And what happened was that I lost a ton of money dealing with litigation that I could not get out of. And I didn't think that was a healthy way to continue to practice. I was still young. The market had, just crashed. We're still in this stage of uncertainty with legal, and I needed to do things differently. And so knowing that I wasn't getting paid and I was still in a case, and knowing that it was creating a strain with my client, I decided that I needed to make a change and that I needed to move to something that was more predictable. So what ended up happening was I really just pulled the Band-Aid off and started pitching flat fees. If we're wrong, so what? Here's the thing. I always was paid. And so I immediately saw some anxiety relief. I immediately felt, okay, I can predict my income. I immediately felt, all right, so even if this isn't exactly what I wanted to get paid, I was paid. I can always adjust it. I can always make some changes. And initially I started with basing it off of what I made hourly. And then I've learned since then that that's not the way to go, because that's still limiting. Mm-hmm. So definite immediate reduction of anxiety, immediate boost of income because I was actually being paid. And then when I moved to subscriptions, it was like predictability. I mean, when you have the ability to have consistent revenue every month after month, you can make different decisions. And what subscriptions do, it allows you to be even more creative with your practice. So when people think, well, how did you build the subscription practice and how is it continues to be sustainable, was because I wasn't stressing about money, and I was really focusing on solving problems and working with clients and designing a operationally better practice. And so all those things are major benefits for me and how I got to that place.
I have a quick question, and then we have a question from our audience.
Sure.
The 144 number that you used in the calculation, what does that represent?
So that represents, on average, lost revenue from if you're billing by the hour per attorney. So if you guys are still billing by the hour, everyone is losing money. I've yet to meet, and prove me wrong, an attorney that has realized and received their entire hourly rate across every single client every single day. For me, I realize all of my money across every single client, and I don't have to worry about chasing fees because it gets auto debited, right? So that's the journey of subscriptions, and it's just like the gateway to being more creative and saying, how can I serve people more in a way that really makes sense for me and makes sense for the client and makes sense for the services that I'm looking to deliver.
Okay, that's great. That's really helpful. Okay, so we have a question on your subscription-based service. Do you cap the number of hours by project, by month, or by some other measure? And if not, how do you navigate situations where the project morphs into something that requires much more work than anticipated in setting the flat fee or subscription-based fee?
Right. So first, when I first started in subscriptions, and I think like anything, as attorneys, right, we have to embrace the journey, right? Like it's not going to happen overnight. There's no silver bullet, right? There's no magic bullet, right? It's just not going to be there. So my subscriptions have adjusted over time. If you follow my website, you will see adjustments happen, because that's the amazing part about being a solo and small, is that we can do that. So in the beginning, my subscriptions were hourly based, and that for me was very, it wasn't aligned with what I wanted to do in my practice. So I no longer do hourly based subscriptions because I don't believe I believe in the idea that I should never trade time for money, right? So instead I'm focusing on being efficient. So I always like to tell attorneys, there's a lot of opportunity that you get every time you work with a client to learn. And so if you're getting consistent pay, okay, if it wasn't exactly what you wanted, you had a lot of opportunity to learn, to create a process around it, to make it systematic, and then automate it. And so that then you can earn later. So you can do hard work now, earn later. So first I'll say I don't recommend doing subscriptions based on hourly, because you're still limiting yourself and you're not really leaning into building a modern, fearless, profitable law practice. And then two, I do have a framework. So to put together what should be in a subscription, but you want to have some baseline things included in your subscription, and you want to set parameters. And so when you're really being intentional about designing it and not just throwing it out there, then you will think about some of the things that happen. And as the things that you didn't think about happen, you just adjust it accordingly. But setting expectation is super key, and allowing for communication with your clients as being paramount to like a core part of having a successful. So like as an example, clients have a limited access to calling us, right? Most people are like, no way, no how. First, I'm going to say this as a tip for every attorney. A call from your client is a better use of your time and your money, because it's much harder to get a new client than it is to keep a current client. So there's a lot of marketing and learning opportunities from just talking to your clients. So that's one, right? But more importantly, you can manage that. So this is a great example of people really like embracing creativity and not letting fear limit where you can go. So you have unlimited access, but that doesn't mean I have an unlimited availability. And we clarify that. So you have an ability to book a call with me. You have a client specific link for clients. They can book a call with me or someone else on my team, right? And based on our availability. So if I have a meeting all day, like right now I'm on this, clearly you can't book me right now, but maybe you can book me in 2 hours. But typically there's some, parameters around that. And it's just really creating a process. Understand your intention, creating a process, automating it, and then delivering awesome service.
We have another question.
Sure.
Two questions, but they're actually related.
Okay.
It has to do with areas of law that might not be subscriptionable.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, this comes from an immigration lawyer where a majority of the clients want a one-time thing like a green card. So in those situations, it doesn't really lend to a subscription model. Do you have any advice?
So I would push back and say, are you sure? Right? So with immigration attorneys that do subscription models, right? But here's the thought, right? When we're really embracing the idea that what the law looks like is not what was the law of the past, it's really something different, you have the opportunity to really design things that maybe you've never seen before. And that's what, it's about in the collective. It's about creating something you haven't seen. So it's really saying to yourself, are you sure that's all they want? Are clients asking you for other things? Maybe that's the end service that they need, but maybe there's some other subscription you can offer that is leveraging your knowledge, that is really leaning into your advocacy, right? That is, not focused on delivering legal services, but really meeting the clients where they're at. And so I always push back when someone says there's not an opportunity. If you look out there, subscriptions are where everything is going from a business. It may not stay there, but for us to not embrace it is to say that we're not really thinking about what our clients need and holistically looking at them. So really dig deep and think about all the things that your clients have asked you and say to yourself, oh, I'm starting to see a pattern. And maybe it looks like 10 steps before they came to me. So all the things, here's a way to think about it. If you've ever said to yourself, if only my client came to me before this happened, then we could have this. Well, before this happened is an opportunity, then we could have this as an opportunity, right? So there's so much opportunity there. So I think the way we think about the law is built off of, traditional law firm mindset, and it's really time to push through that and build something different and build the future of what the legal industry is going to be.
Mm-hmm. I really like what you're saying. It kind of, my takeaway is sort of related to a program I did for the ABN, design thinking.
Yes.
So a lot of what you're saying is, how you frame the problem or the problem that you choose to work on is going to have an impact on what you end up doing. And if we just are open to law being a different business than it was 20 years ago, there are more possibilities to work with. But I think that's such a positive message.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is, right? So I know when you think ditch the JD, ditch the bar exam, ditch all of those, ditch the billable hour, definitely ditch the billable hour. But when you're thinking about those things, it's more about what does it look like and what are we trying to do and what problems are we trying to solve and how we get more creative about it. So yeah, absolutely. It's leaning into the opportunity that what that we have the ability to design new law, right? And that we should be the ones leading it. We shouldn't let it be those that are outside, that are coming into the industry as new people. Yes, they provide value, but we should be at that table too, making sure that we're delivering different and all varieties of services, things that you've maybe never even thought of. So,
Kimberly, I want to thank you so much for a fantastic program, for sharing your time and expertise with us. We really, really appreciate it. And for all of the participants out there, we will be posting a recording of this presentation as well as Kimberly's slides. They'll be on our website, which is www.masslomap.org. We'll have them up there as soon as we can. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I want to just kind of tag on, because this is kind of cool. So you heard Kimberly mention Megan Zavia and her playbook, which is a productizing services. Well, Megan is actually our speaker next month.
Yay!
Lawyers. She will be with us on May 8th at noon. So mark that on your calendar now. She's going to talk about practical tips for effective use of social media. And I'm sure if you have questions about what she does and how she does it, I'm betting that she will be happy to answer them for you. So thank you again for tuning in, everyone, and have a terrific afternoon. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everyone.